Hey there, Grumpy Old Fart here. I'm doing an Advanced Dungeons and Dragons advice video on Advanced Dungeons and Dragons classes for beginners. For more experienced players, the choice of class is a fairly easy one. Most experienced players understand the various classes, they know what they want to run, with the blessings of the Dungeon Master, of course. And they know how to fit that character into the tapestry of the group and the mosaic of the campaign. This video is not for those players. Beginning players are a whole other breed. They have no idea what the character classes are, what they do, or how they fight. Many of them have no frame of reference, and they will need to figure out how the new character they've just created can be useful to the party. This video is my take on the various classes and how they can be used to benefit the group. So if anybody has alternate opinions, be sure and put it in the comments. These new players will need the various viewpoints. Okay. So please, if you have a different opinion, stick it in there. Okay. Give these new players every advantage we can. Before I get into it though, if you enjoy my content, it would really help me out if you would hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, share my content on social media, and post a comment or two. Remember, I welcome your comments, even if you disagree with me. If you enjoy a good book, check out my author page on Amazon. My pen name is H.L. Anderson. You can find all of my books there. I like to think I write good stories that make you think. I wrote a 3-book science fiction Western series called Drifters. I'm working on a 4th. I wrote a fun story about a house in New Orleans where the monsters all hang out. It's called The House Off Farrago Road. I wrote a political fantasy called The Righteous President. Yeah. I've got 2 of them so far. I'm working on a 3rd. Science fiction, kind of futuristic space warfare. It's a study of humanity from an alien perspective. The first one is Vanguard 1. The second one is Task Force Terminus. Hope you get them, and I hope you like them. All right. This is my take on the various classes and how they can be used to benefit the group. So again, if you're an experienced player and you have a different opinion, stick it in here. We need to give these new players every advantage we can. Okay? So here we go. First off, I went right down the list, right out of the Unearthed Arcana. Cavalier. These are fighters of noble birth or who are of a high enough social standing to have a noble benefactor to sponsor them as cavaliers. This is separate from a knight. Cavaliers can be considered knights, but not all knights are cavaliers. Any character who distinguishes himself can become a knight. Cavaliers are born to it and consider themselves the upper crust of such orders. They would be the ones in service of the king or the other nobles. In battle, cavaliers lead the charge. To retreat or to even be suspected of cowardice is a great dishonor to a cavalier. Paladins are knights of a holy order dedicated to a specific deity. They are the militant arm of the church and serve the clerics thereof. In battle, paladins profess their faith in their deity by leading the charge. My God will protect me, therefore I will kill everything. My God will make me invincible, essentially, is what it boils down to. They have to have the ultimate faith in their God. In my world, paladins prefer the weapon of choice of their deity. Not all paladins use swords, for example. A paladin of Thor, and I talked about this in a video I did called Palliating Paladins. A paladin of Thor will want to use a hammer. You see what I'm saying? Clerics are militant, holy or unholy men, depending on their alignment, who spread the word of their deity and convert the unbelievers. In battle, clerics fight well, but many prefer to stay in the rear to protect the wizards and or to use their healing spells to fortify the frontline fighters. After the battle, their healing spells serve to revive and fortify the injured. So they're the medics of the group. They're very, very important. People underestimate running a cleric. Do not discount their offensive capabilities. Heavy maces, hammers, and slings can be quite effective, just as many of their spells can be. Cleric, one of the more Sorry, we have a new cat, and she just wants to be everywhere. One of the more effective clerical spells is called Flame Strike. Look that one up. Or Blade Barrier. That's just nasty. In my world, clerics are limited to blunt weapons as per the book, but they can also use the weapons of choice of their deity, similar to paladins. Spellcasters can be complex for new players, so keep that in mind. And I believe paladins also get spells too, so keep that in mind. All right. Druids are priests of nature who fight well and have exceedingly powerful combat capabilities. They serve to protect nature and heal those in need. In battle, they act very similar to clerics, but have more combat capabilities and less healing capabilities. Spellcasters can be complex for new players, so keep that in mind. Druids also get better weapon capabilities, but less armor capabilities. So they're more offensive oriented. Fighters are frontline juggernauts or back rank archers, depending on the character you have. Because saying you have a fighter is a very generic term. It depends on the stats that you roll up. Dexterous fighters will use missile weapons, while strong fighters will hack, slash, and bash. Heavy armor is always a plus. Barbarians, lacking the formal training and discipline of the fighter class, they're primitive, kind of a primitive cross between fighters and rangers. In battle, barbarians think outside the box, preferring the bold and daring actions. They're not going to fill the ranks, but they're going to sneak in and attack or find some other way to attack more effectively. Think Conan. The barbarians that in the Unearthed Arcana were essentially, there's multiple types of barbarians, but the classic one is Conan. That's who it was based off of. Rangers are like mountain men. They can have a good working relationship with druids, but also draw the druid's ire for harvesting the wildlife. Yeah, because druids protect nature. In battle, rangers prefer missile weapons, but can close to melee range as well. It depends on the situation. As a dungeon master, I give bonuses to a group for hunting and foraging when at least one ranger is involved. Rangers can be complex for new players because they have a variety of different abilities. Kind of like the barbarians, they can be a little complex. Magic users and illusionists are the wizards of myth and lore. They have powerful spells, but are crap in melee combat. If you're a wizard and you're going into melee combat, you're doing it wrong. In battle, wizards stay in the back and use their spells to hurt the enemy and help the group. I think of them as artillery pieces on the battlefield. If the enemy gets close to the wizard, you're doing it wrong. Care must be taken when casting spells. Area of effect spells can easily encompass party members by accident. Spellcasters can be complex for new players. I keep saying that, but I cannot say it enough. Sometimes wizards can serve the party through informational spells as well as combat. So they're good for divining things. A thief. These are shady actors in street environments. Thieves are good at detecting and disarming the traps which litter underground labyrinths. They are also good at hiding and sneaking, finding different ways in, making a different path as opposed to the one you already got, as opposed to the obvious one. Little cat, you are just being an asshole. All right, here we go. In battle, thieves prefer to meld into the shadows and attack with surprise, where their backstabbing capabilities can be devastating. Barring that, missile weapons are preferred. Okay, because in D&D, if you're using a bow, you get 2 attacks. So that helps anybody. Acrobats are thieves which prefer agility to stealth. They're second story men par excellence. That's what they're for. They're acrobats. Assassins can operate as thieves, but also have the added abilities of disguise and impersonation, as well as assassination. Assassination capabilities can be devastating because an opponent can be killed outright regardless of their hit points. All you have to do is roll well on the table, the assassination table. These can be, sometimes they can be a little complex, but I don't think they're too complex for new players. Monks are learned men of remote temples. Their martial arts training and quasi-mystic abilities make them a wild card in any combat situation. Monks can be complex for new players. Okay? And they start out extremely weak. They get more powerful later on, but they start out extremely weak. Bards in first edition Advanced Dungeons and Dragons are rare. The method by which a character becomes a bard in first edition D&D is so convoluted and specific that, in my opinion, by the time you get to be a bard, you don't really need to be one. In combat, first edition bards can be very effective, acting as fighters and or thieves with added spell capabilities. Spellcasters can be complex for new players. Keep that in mind. Also keep in mind, but by the time in first edition, by the time you become a bard, you are already multi-classed and higher level. So, keep that in mind. Read up on the section in bards. It's in the back. It's not in the normal section of with the other character classes. I hope this helps the newer players, with their decisions. Creating a new character can be complex and taxing even for the experienced players. New players may find the process a bit overwhelming. I designed this video to try and help new players understand how their characters fit into the game. Anyone who knows of anything I forgot or left out, or has a different opinion that, maybe does something different, please remember to put it in the comments. Remember, the goal is to help new players adjust to the game and be able to enjoy the experience a bit more. I'm not perfect, nobody is, but it's up to the experienced players to help out the newer ones. It benefits the game in general and helps everybody to have more fun, and that is the whole point of the game. If you have a fighter who doesn't know what to do, or a wizard who doesn't know their spells, or a thief who doesn't understand their capabilities, if that's the only one in the group, your group's going to suffer. You want to help the newer players understand their characters and what they can do and how to use them. Anyway, again, if you have different opinions, if you're an experienced person who has different opinions, or if you have any questions, put it in the comments. I try to answer them all. And I'm good with having a conversation. I'm even good if you disagree with me. You folks have a good one now. God bless one and all. There is a house in New Orleans where the monsters all hang out. When the police detective, who happens to be a skinwalker squirrel, uncovers a plot by a paranormal perpetrator, he has to enlist the aid of his fellow housemates. If you enjoy a modern, quirky take on historical mythology, check out my new original novel, The House Off Farrago Road.